I get nice little pause at the front. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Dolphins Daily, your daily dose of Dolphins content with your boy Chris Kane. Let's talk about the Dolphins. We're gonna start with some good news because we have some less good news later on. But it appears 10 days out, now 8 days out, whatever, that Darren Waller will be available to play the Jets in week 4. We had talked about all offseason. Once we acquired him, when is he going to play? Drew Rosenhaus, let's call it what it is, lied. Full stop. He lied. He said Darren's in great shape. He'll be there on game 1, and he has missed the first 3 games. He lied. And he kept lying because that's his age, that's his player. I understand it. He lied. It wasn't optimism. It just wasn't true. He wasn't practicing. He wasn't doing anything. He wasn't going to play. Whatever. Let's get that out of the way. He's projected to play against the Jets. What a time to come here, right? We've had some stagnation in our offense, and we've had issues throwing the ball in the middle of the field because teams are basically packing the middle. And tight ends are a great resource in the middle of the field. They typically run a seam, which is just like a straight route. And because Darren Waller's much taller than our current wide receiver crop, he's a bigger, better target. So even if he's covered by a linebacker, you can throw at the ear hole, top of the helmet. You can throw it high. Like you're still not covered unless you're like double covered. There's a linebacker trailing Darren Waller and he's running. Tua can just throw up and Darren can go get it in the middle of the field. Again, if assuming he plays, I think he can only add a spark to the offense. We've gotten middling tight end production up to now. We put resources into him to be a not a savior, but at least a viable good option. He's tremendously athletic. He's tall, hands are solid. At this point, he should know the offense, I think, decently well. The Jets secondary, how they cover, normally pretty good. They got blitzed by Buffalo, but that was more in a running game. They didn't give up a ton of passing yards to Josh Allen actually, but we know they gave up a lot in week 1. So the Jets are, I think their secondary is solid, but I don't know if they're great. I think Darren has a good chance to go out there and get some money. I would love him to play. I still don't think he'll play a ton of snaps, maybe like 40 to 50 snaps total. But getting him on the field and seeing him along with our other receivers who should now be as healthy as they would have been all year, basically, because you get an extra few days off to recover and rest. I'm looking forward to it. I hope he goes out there and makes an impact. I'm not expecting him to go out there and go crazy. Maybe a few catches. If he gets 4 catches, 40 yards, I think that would be a good start. 10 yards a catch, nothing crazy. Don't need a touchdown. Don't need him to change the world. I just think if he can do that, I think we're doing okay. Now, I kind of went hard on Tua yesterday in yesterday's show. I didn't give you guys the warning that the world is about to go way harder. What I said was a tidbit of what I knew was going to come. We talked about it after the first week against the Colts. When you're the standalone game, the world's going to jump down your throat. Everybody's going to talk about it. They're going to nitpick every little thing you did good, did poorly, what have you. And simply Tua played an okay game with a bad ending. We knew it was going to happen. So Dan Orlovsky, if you've never seen him on ESPN, he was a former quarterback, played for Detroit, famous for running out of the back of the end zone, trying to avoid a sack, which is a safety. But that's fine. Dan is usually very just accommodating, very giving to quarterbacks. He doesn't want to be critical of quarterbacks because he was one. Also, he wasn't a great quarterback, so it'd be weird for him to be like, "Man, these quarterbacks suck." I'm like, "Didn't you?" So he's normally pretty accommodating to quarterbacks. He's always been a fan of Tua because he said Tua had a certain superpower, and he said recently he thinks that Tua lost that superpower. Here's what he said: I think with Tua, it looks like he's lost his superpower. Tua's superpower has always been cut the ball loose before you should cut the ball loose. No one has sought the defense faster. And I've watched Tua the last 2 weeks, and it feels like he's waiting for guys to get open, see them open, and then throw the football, rather than what's been his greatest asset. It's throwing the ball before they are open, moving guys to open those windows and cut the ball loose. I normally don't, agree with most things I see on ESPN. I think a lot of them are just trying to make money and be, incendiary just to get like clicks and stuff. I think this is 100% right. They showed it during the game. There's a number of times when guys flashed open and Tua like, ugh, like are they open enough to make the throw? And then he would try to check the ball down. There are a number of check downs that didn't need to be check downs. Now sometimes he checked the ball down or made a bad read because the line wasn't protecting them well. We got to give Tua some bail. They weren't blocking well last night. We played three different guards last night. They weren't playing well. We just benched Keon at halftime. Like, hey, sit down because you don't know how to play. You're getting beat too much. Jonah has been awful. We'll get to him in a second. But so he wasn't being well protected, but he also wasn't seeing the field. And sometimes you don't see the field when you have a rush coming. So I think half of this is him not being comfortable in the pocket. Half. Hey, they're rushing me. I don't see the field. Oh, dump off. It's safe. Keeps from being sacked. We don't want Tua being hit. That's every Dolphin fan's like biggest thing. But also, up until now, like even last year before he got injured, Tua will make a throw while they're on the outstep of a post. So before they even break inside, that ball's in the air. Turn, he's catching it in stride. That was always his thing. We always talked about Tua's tremendous accuracy and anticipation. We've always talked about it. It's the biggest thing he's been known for. And I do feel like this year he's holding the ball, trying to see guys open. That's a very college tendency. That's what happens in college. You want to see a guy get open and then throw the ball. And the reason why a lot of college quarterbacks struggle on the next level is because those windows get small real quick. They get real small. Like, oh, he's open. And by the time you throw the ball, it's not open anymore. And so if you're waiting for guys to get open, you're not going to make a lot of good big-time NFL throws. And that's why a lot of guys just end up being backups or kind of busting out of the league because it's easy when you're running 8 yards past your receiver. If you play for, let's say you're an Ohio State quarterback, you have Jeremiah Smith just running past people. You can throw the ball whenever. But when you're throwing a slant, you're trying to get over the defensive tackle's shoulder right in front of a linebacker coming down with a DB behind the receiver. That ball needs to be out quick, pinpoint, theoretically low to save your receiver. But if you're waiting, that window's gone. Or worse, hospital ball. Throw the ball across the middle, receiver getting completely jacked up because you didn't do your job well. It does look like to me like Tua. I said it yesterday. Like when I say he's not seeing the field well, that's what I meant. Because a lot these picks have been, some of them have been good defensive plays, but it also means that he's not seeing the field. Because again, they're wearing a different color jersey. They're flashing and cutting in front of them. You're not seeing where everybody is on the field. You're assuming there will be a certain place, and also they've been short throws. Like these are 15 yards and in. These aren't like I'm throwing a bomb and then like the DB makes a better play on the ball or the safety breaks on the ball late. These are crossing type patterns, which you would think you got to see where guys can come at the ball, and he's not seeing the field right now. And I think he's hesitant to make throws. I think by halftime, I saw a stat like 45% of his throws at halftime were at the line of scrimmage or behind the line of scrimmage. That means I don't see anything out there I like. Boom. Nah. Boom. That's a lot of throws at or behind the line of scrimmage. And when your wide receivers are never blocking on those kind of passes, those are negative to 1-2 yard gains at best. And then you're basically right where you were before. But there were passes to be had. There were lanes to be open. Buffalo's secondary is not elite to that level. Their team might be. Obviously, the offense is. Their secondary outside of Taryn, I think Tre'Davious White looked good last night. I don't know if he still is good or if he just played good against us. I know he's been moved around the last couple of years, and he has not been good. So maybe he got good again. But it does seem like that ball's not coming out with anticipation. Like the Tyreek touchdown throw was arguably one of his best throws of the night because he was on his back foot, threw it when Tyreek was trying to shake I think he had a linebacker on him. He had a DB, he had Benefort. Like he got here, and by the time he was pushing off to go this way, the ball was already in the air. It just floated beautifully to Tyreek. That's the best throw I think he made in terms of the anticipation thing. But there was no one on that side of the field. So there was nothing to read. It was, oh, everybody's here. Tyreek's faking in, breaking out. I'm just going to float it to that side of the field. It's a good throw. It's a good play, biggest play of the night up to that point. But, yeah, it feels like the lack of assuredness up front, I think, is messing with how he's seeing the field. And he's got to lock that in before it's too late. Now, we got to talk about people who just didn't play well. Thursday specifically, but also kind of the year up to this point. Again, has anyone seen Zach Sealer? Where is he? He had 0 sacks yesterday, 0 quarterback pressures, no tackles for loss, and then, of course, the egregious roughing the kicker call. Where are we? Y'all heard me in the preseason. I was adamant about him getting his money. I was beating him. Yo, pay this man. He's earned it. 10 sacks, 10 and a half sacks back to back years. Late round draft pick. He's emerged. I know y'all gave him an extension, but it's like 10 million a year. Double that. He's well worth it. He's better than some guys getting 20 million. I was in his corner beating the drum. And he didn't do anything to upset the apple cart. He showed up. He did like a hold in where he was still there, but not doing all the drills. He said, hey, it'll get worked out. It got worked out. I'm with you. But then when you get on the field and you literally don't perform, he has 0 sacks this year. He's had no impact whatsoever. Also, Kenneth Grant, where are you? First round pick. Where are you? I, I haven't heard his name yet. We knew that was a big issue for our team. And I know some of your job is to clog. But for Zach's case, Zach also gets pressure. Where are the tackle for losses? Where's the impact from those guys in the middle? They're not making a play. And then we got to flip it to our side of the field. The guard position, woof. Woof. These guys are not doing their job. I honestly thought last year, like, the guard situation was as bad as it can be. It's been worse statistically up to this point. Jonas Savaiinaea is rated as the worst guard in the league right now, which is crazy to me. Now, he's young. We've had some tough matchups. I think the Colts D-line is very good. Patriots D-line, I think, is middling. Buffalo D-line, really good, but Ed Oliver didn't play, which is like, how many more elements can you add to that team? Some of this, I believe, was the holdout. Talked about it then. He should not be holding out, meaning for our benefit. He should, of course, be holding out for his own. If you see a second-round pick, a few picks before you get a fully guaranteed deal, you feel like you should get one too. Makes sense to me. I mean, this is the last chance you get to negotiate your first contract. You got to do what you got to do. Take care of your family, your lineage. No issues there. But when you're not there getting the reps and you're a rookie, you're already behind the 8 ball because you're a rookie. Then you're further behind because of lack of reps. And what we're seeing is a guy who hasn't gotten the reps. He looks a little young, looks a little light in the seats. Looks like he's not taking on the rushes well. I mean, he let up 5 pressures last night. Guys were getting home. Keon Smith, what were you doing last night? You literally got benched at guard. Then we brought in Daniel Brunskill, who wasn't even he was slightly better, but still bad. And so we spent a lot of time saying we gotta make the guard position better. James won't be back at earliest until week 5. At earliest. He could be out even longer. So if he comes back, maybe that would shore it up a little bit. Liam is still out. Which means like if we're praying for Liam Eichenberg, we got some problems. I think Jonah will get better. Of course I do. But he's not been good yet, and we have not been good on the interior D-line. I've seen enough from Chubb to say, okay, he's doing his job. I thought a couple flashes from Jalen, like he was getting near sacks. He was getting near the quarterback. He's not finishing plays, and that's maybe a lack of reps. Chop to me looks like he's not where I need him to be. Not bad. Like I think there's some technique things I think that need to be cleaned up. I think he's rushing a little bit too wide, and he's kind of getting pushed out of the play, so he's not bending that corner the way he would need to do rushing the way he is, and he doesn't really use the power rush ever. So there's some things there, but these guys didn't perform. We had to talk about it because we have to call it out. It's not all Tua. I know it's easy that we just did a whole segment. It's not all Tua. If other guys are doing their job, if they were blocking better for Tua, I believe he would have had a better game last night. If he didn't feel like on that pick, he's like, yeah, I saw color flash in front of my eyes. That was a defensive tackle flashing because they weren't blocking again. So he's maneuvering to avoid the rush, and then maybe that 1 second of who's that rushing me, now I have a new picture in front of me on the field. I don't see the field like I should be because someone's rushing me. So, again, I give Tua a 50% bail because they're not doing their job. It's not just Tua. He's the quarterback. Of course, it falls on him. But the rest of y'all got to do your job too, man. Step it up. A lot of talk today about moral victories. I saw Dan Lebatard talking about the Dolphins played arguably the best game of the year and then still lost by 10. Like, how should we feel about that? I don't believe in moral victories in football generally, especially professional football, because the win-loss thing, I think the closest thing I've seen to a moral victory is when the Giants played the Patriots in '07. They played them at the end of the year. And I think they lost 34-24. No, it's 37-34 if my brain is locked in right, where they played them real competitive. And then they just lost because Randy Moss and Tom Brady were crazy. But then they played them in the Super Bowl, and they feel like they had gotten something from that first game that they can use in the Super Bowl. Check me on that score. It may have been 38-34. It was something like that. Like it was in the 30s, high scoring game. So maybe they felt like moral victory. We play them again, we got them. I don't know if the Dolphins are in that place. I think the moral victory is we know we can kind of compete with good teams if we do our job. If you watch the game just from a game flow perspective, Buffalo won in every category. And it looked like they were clearly the best team all night. But Miami looked like what they are, a notch below that team. Now, this year, they've been maybe two notches, maybe three below a team like Buffalo. But in that game, they looked like we're a notch below this team. But if they're not super sharp, and I thought Josh was good last night, James Cook was awesome. Their defense wasn't as like stout as they have been. They've harassed to a way worse than that. So I think them missing that kick was ginormous. They were making mistakes. Buffalo played probably a B minus game, and Miami was playing like a B plus game for a lot of the game, and then at the end it just kind of the brakes fell off. So it's one of those situations where if we're both playing our best, Buffalo's obviously better, but Miami should take from this. If Buffalo's the number one team in the league right now, which they should be by most metrics, then they were 7 points better than us for most of the game, and we were driving to go tie the game late. So we know we're not a mile away. I don't know how close we actually are, but we know we're not a lost cause. We're not a lost cause. And if we had done a few things better, who knows? We could have had the lead. Maybe we could have tied it up. But on our defense, hey, Josh got the ball, tie game, 2.5 left. Can y'all stop him and get us the ball back to go win? Who knows? Likelihood? Probably not. But who knows? I think for Coach McDaniel, this might be a little more of a victory because he knows. I think he called his best game of the season easily. Even though we scored more against New England, I thought he called a great game. I don't think we made all the throws. I think Tua missed some throws. I think he stuck to the run a little bit more. I think he was aggressive in the right parts. I thought the defense played pretty well. We just didn't get the job done. So I think coach is like, all right, I got a decent compass on my team. I think he should feel good about that. But ultimately, we didn't win. And we had to play them again late in the year. And that was in Buffalo. It wasn't warm. Like there's some things. Like I didn't see cold affect the team. I will say that. I didn't see, oh man, they're getting beat up by the temperature. I just saw a team who didn't execute. And I saw a team that when they play their best, they can compete with good teams. They're not better than good teams, but they can compete. So should we take the moral victory? I guess you have to, because you have to build the rest of your season. Right? You got 14 games left. Theoretically, you got to win 10. Like that's kind of what we're looking at to have any chance of the playoffs. You got to win 10. If you're very, very lucky, 9. But you got to go 10-4, 9-5 the rest of the way. So the moral victory of we play Buffalo tight, we should be able to match up in our other games. If that's what it takes, that's what it takes. But as always, guys, thank you for tuning in to Dolphins Daily. We appreciate the love and support. Thank y'all for the likes and subscribes. We'll see you next time on Dolphins Daily. Peace.